6 a.m. in Moscow, I'm Matt Trezza, bringing you today's top stories and a look back at the week's news. At least 19 people, including two 10-year-olds, were injured during a shooting at a Mother's Day parade in New Orleans, Louisiana. An FBI spokesman saying there's no indication the attack was an act of terrorism, but there have been no arrests made so far. RT's Guy Chikian has the details.
New Orleans was celebrating Mother's Day with over 300 people participating in a parade. Police say 3 individuals are believed to be responsible for starting a shootout. Up to 4 of the wounded, though, are believed to be in critical condition. Another public event, another tragedy. There's a manhunt underway for the 3 suspects who police believe have managed to escape. One of them is reportedly wounded. In the same way as investigators of the Boston Marathon bombings appealed for crowdsourced photographs, New Orleans police have urged anyone with any photographs of the parade to step forward. So just as in Boston, the police are drawing the public into the manhunt, certainly putting nearby neighborhoods on high alert. Police are going door to door in search for suspects. And of course, everyone is hopeful that they will find them. But at the same time, many are looking at these recent public events, which have gone terribly wrong, and thinking whether law enforcement can really provide security at outdoor gatherings like this. With the Boston bombers, there could have been early warnings that were missed. The perpetrators of this shooting in New Orleans, we don't know who they are, but we do know that in the U.S. there's very little control over in whose hands guns end up. Guns are freely sold at gun shows and online, and all of this makes people nervous about their safety at public events, naturally.
For some perspective on this, I'm joined by Charlie McGrath, founder of Wide Awake News. So the FBI says this wasn't an act of terror. Very early in the investigation, though, how are you reading the events at this very preliminary stage?
Thanks for having me on, Matt. Yeah, it's obviously way too early. And I don't know how much faith that I would have in our FBI. And that might shock some people, but they seem to, they had indications of what was going on in Boston. We know now, years before that it occurred, and information they were getting from other countries. And so faith in the FBI coming out saying it's terror-related, not terror-related, it's not something I'd hang my hat on. Certainly, it could be a gang-related deal. It could be just a grudge between a few people firing some rounds off and hitting some people. It's unfortunate. And, there's no justification for crazy. There's no justification for people being just downright stupid. And I certainly wouldn't try to come on here and say we shouldn't worry about violence. But as far as an event that it should cause great alarm, it definitely seems not to be.
Now, this is the second attack at a public event in recent months, but despite security being beefed up in many cities in the wake of the Boston bombings, and New Orleans, obviously a very high-profile U.S. city, how do you think something like this was allowed to happen, or is that being maybe even too permissive because, this is a random person with access to a gun that is a plausible possibility?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're a nation of 310 million people. We have 400 million arms, and that's not a bad thing, in my opinion. The news story should be, how do we not have murders every day by legal gun owners in this country? That should be the news story. We had 12,343 deaths due to violence by gun crime last year. Far, far less than we had suicides in this country. We had more people killed by bee stings than mass shootings. The notion that the mainstream media, the establishment media, and Washington, D.C., and a politician that wants to gain some political clout is going to use this event or Boston as a trend that we're on is a bold-faced lie. Our gun violence from 1993 to 2001 is down 49%, and the drop in non-fatal gun violence is down 69%. This does not stop the agenda from pushing forward on gun control, though. That's why a recent research poll shows that only 12% of the people in my country actually know those statistics, that our gun rates, gun crimes are falling, and 56% believe that number is going up. It's a lie. We are a nation armed, and by far, we are overall a nation that is safe with our arms.
Now, recent incidents, do you think that it creates kind of a climate of fear because of the saturation of the media coverage when something like this happens?
Sure, absolutely. It's sensationalism. It's twisted media in the establishment media. It's twisted politics in Washington, D.C. Yeah, it's going to create some fear. We're going to have people talking about this for days until the next event in a nation of 310 million people with 400 arms, and then they will try to use this to further an agenda. But look at Matt. Look what our government's doing while they're crying about gun violence, stockpiling billions of rounds of ammunition. We had 14 soldiers killed in our behalf, in our name, in the United States, in the month of May alone in Afghanistan. 17 civilians killed in Afghanistan, cars I talked about the other day. Our government talks about caring and loving compassion, and we need to curb gun violence, yet we promote it on a policy level.
All right, Charlie McGrath from Wide Awake News, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Matt.